Going live, live.
Live from the Plutopia News Network, this is the Plutopia Happy Hour. Joining us tonight is digital diva Hunter Clarkson, joining us from New Mexico, also in the fabulous state of New Mexico, and state of shock perhaps, our good friend Maggie Duvall. I'm Scoop Sweeney, and over there wearing the skull, it's either a skull cap or a yarmulke, is John Lebkowski.
It's kind of a do-rag.
A digital do-rag, okay.
Are you going for the, are you trying to be like Edge in U2, how he wears one of those now, you know?
Well, I mean, this is a practical thing.
Right.
When your hair gets really, really long, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, it
Absolutely.
sometimes gets in your mouth and you find yourself eating it. So any method you can find to keep your hair at bay.
Mm-hmm. It looks very stylish. You sport well, I must say.
Yeah, I should be wearing one of those because I get complaints from people about the glow off of the forehead here. So I need to powder it, I guess.
If I got a bigger head, I could be Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Are we live on YouTube?
We are live on YouTube. Yes.
What do you call this, living?
Everything.
Hello, YouTube.
All right.
Hello,
Just checking because
YouTube.
usually you say something or maybe you did and
I did. I called Hunter a digital diva.
It's a trick. It's a trick. No, we're here. We're all on YouTube.
we're all tubing.
And,
So
YouTube
You're
is
all-
kind of our subject, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, in technicality, we're virtual YouTubing in a way, but we just don't have the like cartoon avatars going.
Right.
Which maybe you should look into that.
Yeah.
Yes. If you can tell us how to do it.
Yeah. No. So I guess I'll start with like just covering on what a VTuber even is for those uninitiated. So a VTuber, it basically is short for virtual YouTuber, but YouTube isn't the only platform that this happens on. Essentially, it's basically like some sort of like virtual avatar that utilizes face tracking software to basically allow you to become like another person or character online for like streaming or just messing around or gaming or whatever. You can do lots with it, but the main point is that it's like sort of like an alter persona a little bit. There's versions, ones that I'm familiar with are 2D VTubers, which are basically two-dimensional drawings, like flat drawings, basically rigged to give the illusion of 3D movement. And then there's others that use 3D models that are tracked to them that usually most people make them in Blender, which is a free open source 3D modeling software. So the point of both is that it makes it really accessible for people all over the artistic spectrum to basically like make a character out of pretty much anything. Like I've seen a VTuber that was like literally just a 2D image of a lamp and it would turn on and off when the person was talking. I've also seen a talking donut. I've seen what else? There was one that was just a rock. It's just a rock. But it allows you to basically be anything. So
David Byrne could be a talking head.
Yeah, exactly.
This is kind of a mini version of CGI.
Kind of, yeah. It's sort of like it's being able to do like animation or CGI animation in real time, since it's basically pre-rigged, and then using like the face tracking software that's in most of our like cameras nowadays it's able to basically mimic your movements that are happening in real life and make the character do them as you're doing it, pretty much, with like no delay.
Right. I was in awe.
I think we lost Hunter's audio. Did we?
Did you?
Hello?
I hear you.
No,
Can you hear me?
She just stopped talking.
No, I can see you talking away, but I'm looking at the YouTube feed, which has lag. I was looking at the wrong screen.
Yeah. So you're good, Hunter. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, like the first stream I did, I had all sorts of audio and streaming issues. So I was like, oh no, it's happening again.
Yeah, totally. But what I was starting to say was that, when I was watching you, over the last week, you were doing something called, that's the rigging thing that you were doing in that software. And how I explained it to somebody last night was, if anybody's used like Adobe Illustrator, and you're working with vector images, you can add multiple points to be able to manipulate an object in, all sorts of different shapes. So that's what it kind of looked like to me.
Right.
And and I would love,
I have my basically my model that I made for YouTube ups in the program that I used to rig it, if you want me to like live demonstrate or something.
Yeah, can we see that? Is Hunter set up?
Can I share my screen?
I think you can.
Yeah, let me see.
If you have any trouble with it, let me know.
Here we go. Let me know if you can see it.
Right there.
There you are.
Yeah, so this is a drawing that I did of a character that I made specifically for doing like virtual YouTubing. And basically I went through the very long and complicated process of basically separating out every single part of the face. Anything that was going to move, it had to be on its own layer in my drawing program. And then after I brought it into this program, if I go into like, say, the eyebrow here, you can see it's basically surrounded by a mesh, which is basically all these points are what allow me to manipulate this stagnant drawing into giving it movement. So if I come out of here, I'll go to the, like if I go to the brows here, you can see it can move like up and down. Both can go like that. Let's see, let's reset. They can also go like, make a little angry face.
Wow.
Half an angry face. I have the mouth rigged pretty much fully, so can move from side to side like this.
Dang.
Which you can do best with this sort of like side to side motion with how our mouths kind of like Uh-huh. It's something that you can only do with iOS face tracking at the moment. So if you want to do this specifically with this kind of more advanced movement, you'd need like an iPhone or something. But the mouth is completely rigged, so it can follow my mouth movements. That was the thing that took the longest, honestly. And then and the whole face can move like this. And basically this is kind of all an optical illusion in a way, because what's happening here, if I go into her face, there's this warp around it, and this is what lets me manipulate like her. I could have it do that if I wanted. But that's like basically what lets me give the illusion of movement. And I mean, it sounds really complicated, but once you kind of get into it, it's not terribly difficult. And you can also, once you get more advanced, you can go in here, you can add like blinking physics, so it's all shiny and sparkly. And then this is just like the sort of automatic thing, or like does all the random movements.
Wow.
Which is a little weird because it's just basically turning things on and off at random, so it's like a little bit wonky, but
yeah, it's cool.
She's basically fully rigged so that she can do just about anything.
She looks a little drunk.
Yes, she looked a little drunk there. She's had more rosé than I have. So
well, you say, like once you get the hang of it, it's easy, but as we, as we Plutopians know from web development, you know, everybody sees something like a Squarespace or a Wix, and they go in and they're all, you know, enthusiastic, and then they start building the site, and then they get completely bogged down.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna rephrase that. I'm gonna say easy in quotation marks. It's still very time consuming.
Right.
But what I want to sort of encourage people with, like, if you have an idea, like if you draw any sort of style, because what's popular in like VTuber spaces right now is this sort of like anime cartoon style. But I want to encourage lots of artists out there to kind of get into this, because the sky's the limit. It's just like whatever creative idea you have, like whatever you want to be. Like if you want to be like I don't know, a talking cactus, then you could do that.
Well, like we were talking the other night, I think that I was ahead of my time in what I wanted. As the gents remember, I'm sure, we had the Lance Vandekamp show starring Maggie Duvall, and the premise was I wanted to be the first talk show host with tentacles and eye stalks.
You could do that.
and so then it was like a prosthetic tentacle that Mark made for me, and you know, these prosthetic, you know, it was like puppeteering. But if I could do it like this, I mean, I'd like to, I feel more comfortable. I mean, I'm fine on Plutopia, for instance, but I'm not as comfortable. I've never liked to be in front of the camera. You know?
And that is exactly the appeal of this to a lot of people, because I mean, for me personally, I'm doing okay now, but like I've been chronically shy as long as I can remember. And I've had like anxiety issues in crowds, and I have a hard time talking to people, but being able to put myself out there as a person that I feel comfortable with, it feels like I can unleash my personality in a way that I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing before. Mm-hmm. And also there is an element of privacy. I think if, you know, anybody is even slightly knowledgeable about YouTube people, is that they tend to put a lot of their lives out there, and sometimes that can kind of mess them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they lose their anonymity, right? And they lose their privacy. So, you know, there's some where they end up like having people come to their house and all sorts of horrible stuff. So
yeah, that's always the trade-off, isn't it? If you really want to be famous, then you're going to be famous.
Yeah.
Even if you're famous to a small number of people, you're still famous, which means they feel like they kind of own you.
Exactly. So for some people, this is a way of like being able to put themselves out there without putting themselves out there. And then there's some people where it's like, I know this has been really important to people who are in the LGBTQ community, because like, you know, you are literally able to show yourself as however you feel you are, right? So
this really appeals to me, because when I got into media, I was, you know, shy and introverted, but I got into radio because they can't see you; they just hear you.
Right, exactly.
But being me, this totally tempts me to. I don't know if this would be a concept that would be doable. Taking say, for instance, a politician like Donald Trump, and taking his voice, but generating it onto, say, a Beelzebub character.
Oh my God! Yes. Yes, I'm sure you could.
That appeals to me so much.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I started rigging up this little alien guy today.
Oh, that's my uncle.
But like I did this basically in an hour, and I've already got some like basic head movement. So you can do it too. It's like if you have this like really simple character, you could have a really simple character like ready to go, basically. You know, I mean, again, if you want something like a little more like fancy with all these like expressions that I've added in here, then it's going to take you a while. But if you have like a simple art style, or maybe if you even have like I don't know, like maybe you want to be like a little skeleton, and you just like put a PNG of a skeleton and then move the mouth up and down. It's easy as long as you have your layers separated.
So is this like a virtual puppet, or is it something that can be synchronized to your actual movements?
It can be synchronized to my actual movements.
Are you going to demo that part?
Yeah, if you'll give me a second, then I can demo that part.
Okay, your second's up.
Okay.
You know, I want to be Johnny Depp just so I can collect my $10 million.
Yeah, stall for time for me, and I'll get set up to demo this.
Yeah, so you're getting the face tracking set up on your iPad, is that correct?
Yes, I'm getting the face tracking set up on my iPad. If I can move the cat off of my stand here. So basically I have the software on my computer and on my iPad, and they're connecting to each other. So 2 seconds. Yeah.
You make this look so easy.
It was not easy for me at the beginning of the month. It was like a very foreign thing to me.
Oh, really?
I really did kind of just dive in. You
Maggie just started doing this?
Yeah,
Maggie can attest. I sort of disappeared for a while.
Yeah, she was like disheveled and gone for a week and hollow on stuff, but I knew she was onto something, and it kind of reminds me of like when I was trying to figure out web, right? But one of the things we'll talk about in a minute, you have a little bit of a leg up on people though.
Right.
Because you've been trained in 2D animation. So
yes,
you understand a lot of the overarching concepts, I think.
Yeah, I do have sort of like a, because my associate's degree is in 2D animation. So I do have sort of like a background in some of the like ideas of like overlapping movement and like squash and stretch, all that stuff. And I will say, like, I think yeah, exactly. And I my last semester I was learning Toon Boom, which I would say has it's more, I would say it's more complicated, but it has sort of like a similar feeling to the program that I rigged these characters in. So
this is a slight digression, but I've been kind of fascinated. If you watch a movie that's heavy with CGI, at the end of the movie, you get the credits and you see how many animators they list. And it's usually, it's maybe 100 animators or whatever. And I've been trying to imagine how that is. I guess that you've got all these people taking different pieces of whatever the scene is or whatever the character is, and they're having to manage their part of it and also synchronize with everybody else. So what you're doing here is a simple version of it, but man, it can get really complex, huh?
Yeah. And I imagine that technology like this, I'm sure, could have way more implications in the future. I'd love to see someday, like, even somebody making like a little like student movie out of this. That might be kind of interesting to see how like they would do that. Like if you had just like a small team of people trying to figure that out, I think it could be really cool and like, low budget animation, but it's still looking kind of good.
Yeah, because I was thinking about one of the questions, let's circle back to this later, is the idea of like, say there were 3 of you in a room, like you being able to stream all 3 of you at once or anything. But let's talk about that in a minute. Let's show how you.
Okay. Yeah. Here I have the program up. So let me share my screen here. So can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There she is. Yeah. So
she tried to bite me.
Yeah.
So it's tracking to your face right now.
Yes, it's tracking to my face. It's a little bit off because my iPad's kind of far away, but yeah, this is sort of the basic idea. So she's tracking my movements right now. If I move my thing to the side, it might get my mouth a little better. I also, let's see, there's like physics on here. So her hair moves around as I move. Her like little bow tie thing moves around. I have some like expressions rigged that I can toggle on my keyboard. There's a crying one.
Wow.
Which I animated myself, by the way. That tear movement I animated. And then I have like a angry one. And then I have let's see, heart, blush. Let's see, and then there's like a
that's surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising, right? And then like okay.
Yeah.
And then last one is just eye glow.
Right. Yeah, when you see this without the lag that we have on Zoom, it's immediate.
Yeah, right? It's pretty immediate on my end without the like regular internet lag. Yeah, it's like literally, it's literally like I can barely even see a difference between what I'm doing and what she's doing.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. So yeah. When I first got this set up, I was just making faces at myself for like an hour.
Right.
No, I'm fascinated by this because I'm a big fan of anime, and I could see use for this in some types of anime creation. It would be a lot more user friendly, I would imagine, for than having to do the little detailed drawings like they do. The old style animation was painstaking to where they had to do one cell at a time.
Yes, exactly. Well, and there's some mobile games right now that have this sort of anime style that are like, they're like visual novels or just sort of like story games that will use the rigging software that I use to basically have like a little bit of character movement and interaction that's a little bit quicker to produce for like, again, something like a mobile game. Right. And allowing like customization where it's like you can switch the character's outfits out and it'll still kind of be tracked. So yeah, it's
when that character opens her mouth enough, it looks like she has vampire teeth.
She does have vampire teeth.
Okay. And she's got horns too. She's actually a monster, right?
Yeah, she's a little demon.
She's your alter ego, right?
Yes, exactly. So my idea behind her is I like gaming and drawing. I like the occasional sort of like darker, interesting thing, but I do kind of like playing a lot of like calm games like farming simulators or like The Sims, like more chill. So I like the idea of like having a character that was versatile enough to like be in more intense things, but usually has the more like soft demeanor going on, but like a little bit of like evil.
So you've tried her out a couple of times now with tell us about you use her to stream stuff. What are you streaming? What are you doing when you do that?
Yes, so I started streaming on YouTube, and I've done 2 streams so far, so I've just gotten started with this. The first one, I was playing a game called Wonderlands, which is kind of like Borderlands, except it's D&D themed, which Borderlands is sort of like a cartoony style shooter game. And then yesterday I was playing a game called Sunhaven, which is it's a indie game that is it's sort of like a farming simulator with sort of like a magical element. It's still in early access, but it's really good so far, and I like being able to showcase like a smaller company.
Right.
Especially since I'm starting small, so I want to show other things that are kind of in that.
Right. So the idea is that you're streaming yourself playing the game and interacting with people watching you do this, right? And which is a whole huge genre, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, into that. I had no idea before that. So
yeah, and I'll share one more time.
Yeah.
So here's like my little YouTube channel that I've just started. Of course, like you can see, not many subscribers yet. We're just getting going, but you can see I've done my thumbnails and everything. I tried to like play on the fact that I had so many technical difficulties in the first stream, so at least I could get like a clickbait title out of it. And then this is the stream from yesterday, which went way better. I won't play the audio here. I'll just like show the like a video clip so you can see it overlaid with the gameplay. So yeah,
your Cherry Mosh character is narrating what you're just babbling along as you're playing, but she's like your narrator, right? It just blows my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And like there are people in the live like chatting with me. There's like a couple of like friends, and that also made it easier for me to just talk, because it's just like talking to friends, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I just was like playing the game, and then I'm gonna do an edited down version of this, so that it's there's like another video that's a little more accessible if you don't want to like sit here and watch it for like, what is it, almost 2 hours. So because I found that like on YouTube, and this goes like for Twitch and other things, is like, live streams are great for just like having an audience and just going, but it also helps to have like your edited down version to like kind of hook people, because obviously attention spans are kind of short. So you know, if you have like a video where you can do something exciting immediately, which doesn't tend to happen in live streams, it's sort of like easier to like bring people in, and then they might hang around for the live streams after. So that's sort of my strategy.
Right. Well, and you're trying to build a niche career here, kind of like I did when I was learning web design, right? It's like that's what it seems, because it sounds like you're starting to set up a, you know, among other freelance gig work you do, you're going into the idea of creating you know, somebody gives you money to create an avatar for them, right? According to their specs. And so I want you to talk about that a little bit. And then I'd also like to talk about helping the aged among us understand some of the applications maybe that you've thought of, or you've talked to friends about, or if you've researched that we could use it for.
Right. Well, so gosh. Okay, so yeah, like my for ages now, I've been mostly doing like illustration commissions and everything for like my artistic work, and I have like a little audience from that already. And I mean, I was kind of wanting to do this anyway, even outside of just gaming, because I just wanted to be able to connect with those people a little bit more, so there wasn't so much of this like distance from just like posting a thing and then dipping. And then I take commissions for art anyway, as mentioned, and I have after my first 2 streams, I have 2 people who want to commission me to draw and rig a model for them. So that's kind of exciting that like I pulled it off and there's people interested. In terms of applications, I think there's like, if there's like literally anything you want to do that's like a media production thing, like even what you guys are doing with the podcast right now, if you wanted, you could all just like have like little virtual avatars if you wanted. There's some people I know that like even just do this casually, like they'll just be their avatar while hanging with their friends or doing like a D&D session where it's like you can literally be your D&D character while you're doing your campaign, right? And then of course like there's like pre-recorded videos, streaming as mentioned, but and not just for like gaming or drawing, which that's what I do, but like you could do it for like if you're giving tutorials on how to do web design, you can make it a little more interesting, because I mean, also I think it'd be just funny to have a character explaining web design to you. I probably pay more attention. I think there could be some educational. Yeah, exactly. You could use it for educational stuff in general, because again, I mean, there's a reason that like, you know, young people tend to gravitate towards this stuff too, is because it's eye-catching, and it can also feel like, you know, at least for me, it's like, okay, I'm like a cartoon character. I'm going to have like more exaggerated feelings and facial expressions, and it's going to be more like I
could be an emoticon with dark glasses.
Yeah, exactly. You could. I love that.
Yeah, I want to be kind of a Thor avatar there. You know?
Yeah.
You could be a mouse.
Abs and hair.
Yeah, exactly. And you could do that.
You could be a shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just you said about the education. Oh, go ahead, Scoop.
On the other hand, I see a creepy factor here. You could get old guys like me who want to come off as a slick young dude to hang out in inappropriate channels there.
Yeah, no, that is definitely, that is like a dark side of that, I would say.
Yeah, you should reject those customers, definitely.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah, just having been a teacher before, I'm now saying, you know, I've got ideas. I love the idea of, you know, I remember one of my mentors in high school, the guy that saved me from, just kind of spinning off into the atmosphere. My teacher, mentor friend, KZ, he taught French Revolution, Russian Revolution, English Reformation, all this history stuff, and totally eccentric. He was amazing. He always wore a bow tie to school every day. But what was really great is that anytime he'd give a lecture like on the Russian boyars from the Middle Ages, he'd come in dressed as one. And
Perfect.
he would always dress the character, and he was the hardest teacher in our high school, but he was the most engaging because he would do that. So I could imagine having, I mean, it'd be really cool to be able to teach a course on like the English Reformation. You could switch your characters, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you
exactly.
Maybe you could be talking from Anne Boleyn's point of view and then Henry VIII's or something like that. My head's kind of spinning thinking of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's lots of applications, and I just think, I don't know, I feel like just in daily life it can make things more interesting. I mean, I just know me with my ADHD, like any extra stimulation helps me focus on things that I want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So having extra visual stimulation really helps.
It seems to me that in what you're beginning to do now, the logical thing for you to be considering is how the metaverse will be built and structured, the supposed metaverse that Facebook and others want to create. That's going to be all about avatars.
Oh, yeah.
Virtual spaces. So I think that's like the land of opportunity for somebody who's cultivating the skills you're cultivating.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think just, for whatever comes with that, I think it is just good to kind of have your toe dipped into what it looks like. Even if it's just like you happen to come across a random VTuber and you just check them out for a while and see what they do.
Right.
Again, you could watch the lamp one and see like what it would be like to be a lamp.
Right. So is anybody, because we had that whole rise of the YouTube influencers, are there any particular personalities that are becoming known in this realm now?
The one that like initially comes to mind. So the first one that kind of started this whole thing back in 2010
Wow.
is there's a gal named Kizuna Ai. She was like a Japanese VTuber, and she was kind of like she's kind of like a Vocaloid or like a digital singer, and that's where it kind of started. So that's sort of like a notable one to like see where it came from. And I mean, there's so many now. The sort of like most notable one that I think is sort of like on the top level of like VTubers that started to like interact with regular non-virtual YouTubers is one named Iron Mouse, and she's kind of fun. Again, she's like another one that's like being an anime character, but she actually has a like she has like a what is it called, she has a disability that sort of like makes it so she can't really she was never able to really leave the house very much. She was very isolated.
The applications of this realm.
Yeah, so she isn't able to leave the house a lot, and she's that her becoming a VTuber has sort of given her a window into everything. Basically, she's able to talk to way more people than she was ever able to talk to before. She's able to like be herself. She's just able to express herself in whatever way she can, especially because again, it's sort of like a thing where it's like she's very prone to sickness. It's like it's very it's very hard for her to go anywhere, so it's just giving her a way to, and I think that can be the case for a lot of people that might have like mobility issues or or anything like that.
Yeah, differently abled in so many different ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys want to learn more about that, there's a video by Anthony Padilla where he interviewed several VTubers to kind of like do a deep dive on what the appeal is for them. And he does a lot of great interviews of different people. So I actually just recommend checking them out anyway. He did one on VTubers. He's done one on talking to people with ADHD. He's done one on talking to people with dissociative identity disorder. Lots of interesting stuff. So I highly recommend him, but that's a good one if you want to learn more about some of these specific people and why they might do this.
Right. Yeah, I just think of so many people that are on the spectrum that are just not comfortable with going into a lot of environments, and so many people are treated like, you're just too sensitive or buck up or whatever. It's like, nah, no, it's not that at all. So, oh, good, you found the video. There.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. Yeah, so highly recommend checking this one out.
It's just like every time. So I'm lucky because, you will always, Hunter, you will always find, okay, there's this really cool new thing, and you'll share it with me, and I get to see all this stuff, and it's like weeding through all the YouTuber chaff, right? Finding the really cool stuff going on. And that's why I keep, I'm glad you're on the show, because I keep telling people, well, Hunter told me about this thing. And, well,
I'm glad my babbling could have an impact.
Well, again, there's something in the maternal pride thing for me, because, the whole idea of the entrepreneurial mindset, the freelancer mindset, the fact that, dipping your toe in the water, and like John was saying with the metaverse and all that, you're prime. Just like I just knew, sitting in that office in 1988 in San Leandro, California, that if I didn't learn about this stuff, I was going to be completely overwhelmed by it. So it seems like it's the next phase in all this anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that is literally why I dived in, because I was starting to feel out of the loop myself, and I was like, I just didn't want to be there. So I was just trying to dive in, even though it was like scary and intimidating at first, and then I figured it out.
Okay.
Got really quiet here all of a sudden.
I'm like,
a
yeah,
hush
cool.
fell over the room.
Should I say something else? I don't know.
Well, I mean, we could talk about how you could help Plutopia make its own kaiju film.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Because we are big fans of those monsters, whatever they are. Are they lizards?
Some of them.
Kaiju
Hashtag
have
not
a
all
reptilian
kaiju.
look, don't they?
Oh, God.
This could be a long discussion trying to figure out exactly how to classify kaiju.
Yeah, kaiju looks kind of like a bunch of Republican politicians sometimes. Kind of reptilian and scaly.
Yeah.
And breathing fire.
Breathing fire, destroying everything in their path.
There you go.
I'd love to see us, I mean, there's something to this, I think up a way to, I don't know. I mean, we explore a lot of leading edge stuff. It would be fun to do something leading edge as a collaborative project.
Yeah.
Like something with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Well, and we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I think it just adds like an extra fun layer. And again, like once you start getting into it, you'll just be kind of staring at yourself for a while and making weird faces.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, there you go. You're natural already. Got it down.
Yeah,
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing that or if I'm having a stroke. I'm not sure.
Not mutually exclusive.
Well, kind of keeping on the YouTube theme here. You have watched and seen the ups and downs of, you have your favorite YouTube personalities, which you can share with us, some of them. But also you've seen their ups and downs, ones that have come and gone. I think of what was the one, the film critic guy?
Oh yeah, him.
I mean, there were these people that were huge, and then they just disappeared.
Or there was drama, or
or people were made like hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and then the algorithm changed midstream, and they lost everything. I mean, you want to tell us a little bit about that and where YouTube's going?
Yeah. Okay. So, part of the problem over the years is has been around monetization and just how you make money on YouTube. And how you make money on YouTube has to do with basically it's letting ads play on your video, and then you get part of the revenue from, you know, people watching those ads, basically. And the problems that have arose over the year is that, like, the last big one was, which is sort of referred to as Adpocalypse. Basically, there was a controversy where, like, you know, somebody did a news article about some random person on YouTube saying something that was, you know, not all that great, a little controversial. And then there's suddenly all these companies that are like, well, we don't want our products to be placed with these people that don't align with our, like, corporate message. So you've been having, like, an ongoing problem lately of where people are sort of starting to need to over censor themselves. And I'm not even just talking about, like, just not saying bigoted things, because of course that shouldn't be a thing, but even stuff like the gay community has been hit really hard, because there's a lot of times where even just talking about LGBTQ issues on YouTube will get your video demonetized and you won't make money, and you'll get pushed out of the algorithm and your video won't get seen.
Yeah, this is what they've been calling cancellation, right? Cancel culture.
It's like, it's literally sort of, and it's one that I don't think is necessarily talked about enough, because, you know, I think it's like there's the ones that kind of like rose to the top already that are able to sort of shift. Okay, but like it is hard for, you know, especially like marginalized groups of people, because for some reason their groups seem to be flagged as inappropriate more often than others. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no bias.
Plutopia got flagged by the algorithm recently. John and I did a podcast, and we post all of our podcasts on the YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. And part of it had, we were dealing with, I believe it was UFOs. No, it was the Cold War. Mm-hmm. And I included a clip from a U.S. government propaganda film from back in the 1950s, and it's been everywhere. You know, everyone that's ever grew up in the 1950s, and not you perhaps saw these films, but I included a short audio clip, and we got flagged. They said you can't. You post this. You have to either monetize or go away or burn your copies of the file. And it turned out it's because a rap act, that I'd never heard of, used this same audio folded into one of their mixes that they had already posted on YouTube. So this sounds just like Maniac's version of such a song. So so you're flagged. It's like,
so basically
the U.S. government.
You appropriated content that somebody else had appropriated, and their appropriation had priority over our appropriation.
That's known as a recursive loop.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and there's like weird stuff, like if you want to stay monetized, you can't swear in the first 10 seconds. Specifically the first 10 seconds. After that, fair game. But
yeah, you can say anything you fucking want to after the first 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're flagged.
Oops.
but yeah, so I think there's a lot of like YouTubers that have to kind of dance around that now, when they used to kind of just be able to do whatever. And I think it's worth talking about, especially because it's Pride Month, that like, YouTube's another one of those companies that is gonna like prop up how much they support those people for advertising purposes, but they screw over the LGBTQ people on their platform so often. Like there's this one YouTuber, Daniel Howell, who he came out as gay a couple of years ago. And he was kind of like used up and spit out by YouTube because his video blew up, and suddenly they wanted to like use him to basically prop up on a pedestal and like, look, we support these people so much, but internally they were they were sabotaging him. They like were, there was all these projects that he wanted to do that they said like, oh yeah, we'll totally do that with you. And then they just would ghost him basically. And then would like come back and be like, well, we decided that that content doesn't align with our goals anymore. And it's like, huh?
Yeah, welcome to the world of corporate speak.
Yeah, exactly. But so they totally used him up and spit him out. Luckily, now he just released a video where he was talking about this and just how much he felt used, and was trying to quote unquote be good so he can get his dream to happen. But now he's sort of like saying, screw it, I'm gonna just do it anyway on my own. Here's what I want to do, come follow me. But nope. It's just really worth calling out how much it's just another case of like something, wanting to like use people to show that like, oh yeah, we're so forward thinking, when in reality they're really not.
Yeah, it can be dangerous being an influencer on any kind of social media. Mm-hmm. We've seen, Gamergate and stuff mm-hmm. like that, where you do your thing and someone takes exception to it and makes you their cause. They're going to come and get you. They're going to dox you. They're going to do whatever. And so sometimes being famous is a double-edged sword there. It cuts both ways.
Yeah, and it can be, I know it's especially scary for women who stream and make YouTube videos sometimes, because there's sort of like an added sexual element a lot of the time, whether they are trying to invoke that or not. And it's just like sometimes like it feels like you're not really allowed to be a personality on the internet the same way that men can. There's just extra things where it's like, and I think this is why probably VTubing is really popular with women too, especially because like, I mean, I was going to just do it as me for a while, but then there was stuff like I would get way more insecure about things that I wasn't insecure about before, because there's, I mean, again, it might be like 1 in a million, but there's always going to be some person that's going to like criticize how you look, or like if you're wearing your makeup right, or if like you're fat or skinny or whatever.
You should hang out with us for a while, because there's all kinds of things we should be insecure about and we're not.
Yeah.
We're basically the cure for insecurity.
Mm-hmm. I know it is crushing for so many women, especially younger women, because you might want to share some of that, Hunter. The attacks are like beyond the pale foul. Mm-hmm. Ugly, evil, just horrific. It's like these guys in their parents' basement or whatever the hell,
Like, is this mostly what they call incels that are making those kinds of attacks?
Yeah, definitely incel types. It's like, it's like, it's the type of guy that sort of just feels entitled to you because they've like watched you or something.
Right.
The ones that like to share anatomical photographs with you, whether you want it or not.
Yeah,
well, it's kind of like what we were saying before about like if you are famous and just being in some kind of media product could at least create the vibe that you're famous, then there are people who will assume a sense of ownership of you, and movie stars have had to deal with that all along, but now you have people who are internet famous who are having to deal with it.
Well, and there's the element of parasocial relationships where it's like this is cropped up with like YouTube personalities specifically, because a lot of them put so much of themselves out there, even if it is a persona to some degree, and people will feel like they'll be watching them, especially if they're like young teens and they're trying to figure themselves out, and they'll be like, this person is my best friend, this person that I've never met in real life is like my best friend, and like we'd totally be best friends if we met in real life, and like I want to know everything that's happening in their life all the time. And it can become like, there's some people that become like really invasive, can like really like, they get, it's sort of like with celebrities, how people get into gossip, but it gets a little scarier with people that are like, at least they seem very close, like closer than a lot of celebrities may seem.
That's the kind of thing that ends up being a Wes Craven film, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your friend, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. So
Do you know about David Dobrik?
yes, I do.
And you know about the trouble he got in.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, I don't think it occurred to those guys that you can't like get a girl blackout drunk and then have sex with her, a girl who's underage, on YouTube without repercussions, you know?
Well, and I think the thing is that they didn't get repercussions for a while.
Well, they didn't get much. Yeah.
Yeah. And they didn't get much overall. I mean, and there's a ton of like big YouTubers like that. Like, I'm like, you know, you heard about that guy that like did that video in the forest with the suicide and stuff like that.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just there's
this is in Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, in the forest where they have all the suicides. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very strange.
Yeah.
There are a lot of instances of people who want to have their 15 minutes of fame just before they go out and shoot up the neighborhood and post it on YouTube or
yeah,
Facebook.
and there's some people that subscribe to that idea of like any attention is good attention to like an insanely religious degree, where it's like they will just behave like the worst kind of people that you will ever meet. Like they'll set things on fire or whatever. They'll just do really nasty shit because they know it gets them attention. And like, I mean, it's not sustainable. It always comes back to bite them, but they still make their, millions initially.
Yeah, they want to get in one of the Jackass movies.
Yeah.
Right.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's really unfortunate because it's like there is a lot of really amazing people that have come from YouTube and are doing amazing things. Like I mentioned, Dan Howell, Anthony Padilla, Markiplier. He's an amazing,
awesome.
He's an amazing like gaming YouTuber. He's like genuinely a really,
nice guy.
He's a genuinely nice guy. He's done some amazing projects. He recently did a YouTube original series that was called In Space with Markiplier, which is basically a choose your own adventure like space thing. It's really fun. I would just recommend playing it. But yeah, because it's interactive. But he's been a gaming YouTuber for ages. He's done a ton of like charity drives. He's like always been sort of very like honest about where he came from and where he is. And he's been good about just sort of like setting boundaries, and he's someone I like really recommend to everybody because he's just a good person. He's like he's done like a bunch of stuff for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and St. Jude and all this stuff.
My current hero on YouTube is a hacker guy, the self-described hacker, who trolls the spam guys from the call centers overseas.
I feel like I've heard of him. I feel like I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, it's the most hilarious stuff. It's like these people are, they think they're still going to sell him something. And he's tracking, he's doing a trace route on them and doing all sorts of stuff to where he ends up totally owning this poor spammer.
I love that.
And it is good entertainment because I'm of the age where if I don't get, if an hour goes by and I don't get a spam call, I think maybe my phone's been disconnected.
Yeah, no, I know how you feel. I've been getting a lot of those recently.
That reminds me of something I learned from Mad Magazine. It might have been a Jack Davis strip, one of those guys, but it was the idea of, when somebody calls to sell you something. I did this back in the 80s. It's like saying, oh, can you hold on? I've got to go turn my oven off or check my food or something like that. And it was this whole thing where you leave them sitting there and sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. And I actually did it because of Mad Magazine. It was great. You'd hear them, ma'am, you'd hear them on the phone. It was great. So this is like the new version of that. So
Yeah, my dear wife did that to some poor guy from Canada who was selling vitamins, and she tried telling him, "I work for a medical, care provider. I get them for free." And he goes, "No, no, these are better." So she just got pissed and started wasting his time. She had him on the phone for like an hour until finally his supervisor broke in and started screaming curses at her. But yeah, that's the worst thing you can do to them is waste their time.
right.
Right.
So what's next?
What's next? I think eventually, like, my ideal would be to see other platforms rise for people to do their thing that have some sort of different approach than what YouTube does. I don't know the exact answer to that, but I feel like it would be cool just to have another option that sort of helps. It is sort of like putting creators of any size first rather than advertisers first. That'd be sort of like my ideal situation.
The
you
metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, it might help out with that. And I think as is, it's like there's still lots of opportunity and like ways to be creative. And I think even just doing it for fun is sort of like a nice stress relief, honestly. Like, even if you don't get a following, even if you don't get paid for it, I feel like it's just a nice way to sort of hang with people and unwind. So I mean, I feel like but I just sort of like feel like the way things are right now, like people are looking for those sort of authentic experience. And I just know people in my generation are getting really fatigued with advertisements being literally everywhere. And it's because there's like so many marketing people that were, it's like, oh, our marketing tactics aren't being effective on young people. How should we fix this? More advertisements. And we're like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Be more irritating in your ads, just so they stand out.
Uh-huh.
Well, and one of the things I thought of, Hunter, is that, I've had a lot of people before that have said, and they really like some of my thoughts or commentary I post on Facebook sometimes, right? And I could go on these rants about some of the things I talk about. Usually when I wake up in the morning, I have a whole bunch of stuff I would like to talk about. I played with presenting it in different ways. I kind of, have this idea of if I had an avatar that, I talked about this, when I can do it, I'll commission you to do one. But, to be the character I've always thought of myself as is some kind of wizard. And I don't mean Harry Potter wizard. I mean like Merlin wizard. But, when I was growing up, only girls could only be witches. We couldn't be wizards. But I'm a woman, but I'm a wizard, blah, blah, with tentacles and eye stalks. And
of course.
And I would love to be able to like have the, coffee with, whatever my name is. And, like Scoop right now. And, but, I'd love to have kind of like how you stream. I'd like to have my room open, and I just say, hey, everybody, join me. I'm going to be babbling about something. It's kind of like a on the fly salon. I had fun last night at our mutual friend, John knows her, Katie Raver. Katie lives a mile from me now. And I went to a wonderful salon last night, and we're going to do them weekly. Anyway, look at that.
That's perfect. See, the possibilities are endless. Yeah. No, and I think and also the other great thing is, you could be like in your pajamas, like lounging back with a bunch of popcorn and no one would know. I mean, they might hear you crunching, but I like the pirate gang going on here.
That's right. I'll just put my octopus on there.
Maybe you guys could have a show where you're like a band of pirates.
Yeah, we're just trying to we want to collect Johnny Depp's $10 million.
That's right.
I'm sure we can fool someone.
Now look what you've done. They're going to be like, see, anytime they come onto the show, it's going to be this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can see it.
Well, I mean, again, if anyone's curious about it, I do take commissions now. I also just do plain old illustration commissions. And yeah, I'm around, and I want to encourage people to just kind of dive in, you know. Yeah, have fun. Or even, you know, even if you just want to like have a bunch of characters that you can get on a Zoom call with your friends and like do goofy things with.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Kind of like we do on Thursday nights.
Yeah, Goofy's my middle name.
Yeah.
Well, and I hope that you would be interested in every once in a while being one of our guest co-hosts, because I really like having your perspective on things, you know.
Sure. Thank you.
I mean, if it's okay with my other co-hosts.
Oh yeah.
I'd be honored.
The more the merrier.
More the merrier.
Well, we have reached the end of our time.
Yeah, that was fun.
We have like seconds. Nope, there it went. It's 8 o'clock.
Good night. Thank you, folks.
Good night to all. Oh, listen to that.
Blade Runner.
Love it.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Off we go.